Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to our Crucifixional live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. One of my favorite dudes to talk about is a retired Navy SEAL and now motivational speaker and marathon runner and, forest land firefighter is David Goggins. Goggins wrote a book years ago, bestseller, Can't Hurt Me. It just went through his journeys and his life to get him into becoming one of the baddest dudes on the planet. And in his new book, Never Finished, he talks about running the race called the Moab 240. And why 240, you may ask? It's not on Highway 240. It's 240 miles. Yup. 240 miles. And they have 130 hours in which to complete it. Now, Goggins did it twice, which, hello, that's insane. And he's, throughout the book, he's talking about the struggles that he had in his mind. He even got lost on the first run, and he ran an extra 15 that he had to run an extra 15 back, which made it the Moab 8,000, right? Like, crazy what this guy's doing. And he's always pushing himself to do hard things. I think that's why I like him, because we are, all of us, really presented, and I like to say, the opportunity to do hard things, to do challenging things in our lives. Because it's easy to go easy. It's easy to go soft. It's easy to stay comfortable. And that's kind of where we default ourselves into. But when we do that and look for pleasure and gluttony, if I can say, in both the literal and figurative sense, we end up, not in a good place. I think it's King George V. And if I got this wrong, forgive me, but it's one of the King Georges, in the 1800s. The dude was just a glutton for life. I mean, all about pleasure. The story is that he would wake up and his breakfast would be like 4 eggs and a steak and a bottle of wine. Like, who drinks wine in the morning? Along with brandy to finish it off and all the fixins. And the guy just got so sick and so fat that he couldn't even sleep lying down because he was afraid the weight of his chest would crush him and asphyxiate him in his sleep. Like, the excess that he went to, and he was miserable, right? I mean, it looked like it was pleasure, but he was miserable. In contrast, Goggins looks like he's miserable, but he finds pleasure and joy in doing the hard things, in accomplishing those things that are sometimes seemingly impossible. Our good friend Moses, very similar as well. Moses goes to the burning bush, right? You know the story from Exodus 3. And God commissions him to go take his people to the promised land, right? And Moses, he didn't want to do it. It's hard. He says to God, who am I? Like, I'm nothing. Then he says, God, I stutter, right? I send somebody else. Then he says, look, these people aren't going to accept me. They don't want me. They're going to ignore me and reject me. And God finally has enough, puts his foot down and says, Moses, go get some. And he does. He does those hard things. And now, because of the labor and the effort, in spite of his discomfort and his pain, Moses leads God's people to the precipice of the promised land. And guess what? We name the first 5 books of the Bible after him. We call them Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, but also known as the 5 books of Moses, right? Like, there's, in some sense, reward in that effort that he put. And I think the same thing is for you and I, and we've got to really be comfortable being uncomfortable. We've got to look to do the hard things that lead us, not like King George the whatever, into this gluttony where he ultimately, faced death as a really sick and very unhealthy and uncomfortable man. Or do we go after things like Goggins, ultimately like Moses, where we find in our lives transformation? I know you know the answer, right? Comfort seems good, but the reward is, it's not worth it. It's the reward for doing the hard things. And I want to show you how to do that kind of stuff. We are trying to do that in our own lives each and every day, each and every moment of every single day of our lives. We're pushing ourselves to do harder things. And sometimes we succeed and sometimes we don't. But we're still grinding and pushing. And you know what? With that, we've been inching forward. Thank God in all things. If you want some of that for yourself, it's pretty simple. warriorsaints.org. Now let me talk about it for a minute. Indulge me. We have created our own application now. So it's friggin' awesome, number 1. Number 2, it's totally simple. It's only got 2 steps. To learn the word of God so you can live the word of God. Learning it comes through understanding the Bible. When you get to our website here, you'll see what I mean. The second part is the way of the warrior saint. Once you've learned the word of God, now how do you live it? Well, we give you a plan, 6-part plan to do it. The first part is about your mind. And in that, we have an episode that is teaching us that exact thing that we've been talking about this morning. How to do the hard things even when this doesn't want to. So if you're ready for something a little bit better, if you're ready for an exceptional life, if you're looking to be the very best that you can be, then stop being like King George and sitting on the sofa eating all the food. Get up. Let's do the hard things. Visit us at Warrior Saints. We'll show you the way. Love you. We're going to be back tomorrow. As always, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saints.